Good afternoon, everyone. Starting on time today as I have a next appointment at in an hour, so we have to end in due time. I try to not rush. There's a lot of information available in the appendix. I think I have 15 pages appendix. People who attended last week's webinar about the Android devices, they have most of that appendix already. There are some additional information inside here that is regarding to the Windows-based, the MVC solutions, also with the Pro Room audio, but not with the high-end one that we are looking into next week. Let me quickly put that screen down. Just checking if you guys can hear me. Throw away a yes or raise your hand wherever you can, just to ensure that. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay, so again, I will try to give you as much as possible data possible. I just have to quickly check if I actually have the right slide set. No, that's the wrong one. Is that the wrong one that I'm running? Yeah, I'm running the wrong one. Bear with me. Should be this one then. Of course, I want to not to give you the wrong stuff. It's a difference of if I show you the old gear from Android from last week. Okay, good. Also, yeah, is my presenter screen. Okay. What we learn about Teams Rooms market, not too much to go into there. That's not really too technical. Yealink solutions on based on Windows, so the MVC setup, basic setup, cabling and configuration, accessories, options and restrictions. Troubleshooting basics, we focus very, very strongly on that today, as much as possible time on there. Management and security, we look into the Yealink certification, which is more or less a mandatory topic for everyone who wants to be able to install and understand this kind of setup. We look at the leader resources and then again the appendix at the end. The appendix you will get in form of the whole slideshow that I will hand down after the meeting. That meeting will be recorded, or the webinar will be recorded and added up to the Leader Academy channel. Now, there is a high demand in terms of the online meetings area and the hybrid meetings since definitely since the pandemic hit us. And with nowadays technology, when you look at the latest gear that Yealink released, it is absolutely no issue anymore to cater proper meetings all across the world, more or less. Yeah, we are really merging more and more together in an IT, or in that regard here, it's UC. In a UC perspective, probably more globalized than actually the original globalization was meant. There's a huge demand for that. There's a lot of opportunities if we can figure out what the customer actually needs. A Microsoft Teams Rooms is more or less the hardware. That can be a Windows or an Android hardware. Can also be BYOD if the customer wants to use his own NOC. That contains the Teams Room contains camera, microphone, speaker, and a display. And if possible, for ease of use, a touch display as well. There is a software running, the MTR app, that is running either on the Android device or on the Windows system. That is the Teams Rooms application. And the devices, they link back to Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Intune, Entra, and SharePoint. And we can also have the opportunity to use the whiteboard. Microsoft Whiteboard is also included as a option. Now, the license that we require for these devices is a Teams Rooms license. We have there a basic available or a pro. Also there I have links which show you which license covers what, and then also what the specializations are, for example, with room panel and these kind of things, which certain devices require or certain setups require a pro license for it actually to work. But yeah, that's something what you have to look in the matching links. Now, customer key pain points based on a Microsoft survey is people that are working remotely are not engaged. A lot of that comes to the camera placement. We look at that as well. Employees don't know how to use our meeting room AV. That's often true because you have hardware from multiple different vendors, manufacturers that in a way are meant to work together, but do not really work together very often. We have different room types. Most don't have the right AV. Also, that is the sometimes a pain point where you, for example, have multi-use rooms, which one is for example, at once it is a boardroom, the other day it is a classroom, that kind of stuff. It's very important that we add there the right gear inside so that it actually suits the customer's need. And we need to ensure all endpoints are secured and managed. Also, that is an important part to literally have the devices that it's secure in one way, and the other way that you have the ability to manage the devices from remote or from central management platforms. Yealink Solutions. Yealink has a overall staff of more than 2,500 employees. There's 50 and more, so 50+% is technical staff. So they have a high percentage of their actual staff is working in the technical field, be it in technical sales, be it in technical pre-sales, technical after-sales support, research and development. So we see here Yealink has over 30% they add into research in and development, over 30% of the investment. They have over 600 patents under their belt. And if from the pictures you can see that they actually use professional testing labs to more or less cater for all those needs that are required outside in those different meeting rooms. Yeah, so comes down to audio testing or camera testing, AI development, all that kind of stuff, what they have under their actual belt. Now, Yealink has more or less for every feature or for every room requirement, they have the gear available. As of today, or for today's meeting, we focus on, quickly bring up the pen and a different color. It's always, for me, it's difficult. I have no eye color issue, so it's difficult for me to actually cater with the right color for these people. But today we actually will look onto Teams Rooms on Windows, and we then look also, where is it here, into this hardware. This kind of hardware comes next week. As we can see from the next slide, the Windows-based room solutions, they more or less start at the small to medium room area, so between small room and medium room, where we cater with the YMCS 40, which is an all-in-one bar. Of course, since it's a Windows-based solution, it has a Windows NUC in the back. However, since it is a Windows NUC that drives the system, this bar can also be used for BYOD. Yeah. Not with the M-Touch. The M-Touch can never be used for any BYOD, Windows-based BYOD solutions, as we see then afterwards why. We can also cater for more or less that kind of segment, more or less up to here, with the 3 different meeting board options, the 65, 75, and the 86-inch, where we can add the OPST. The OPST is more or less like an M-Core, so a Windows-based Teams room, which we can add up to U-shaped rooms where we still can cater when we put the trolley around in the area that it fits, where we can still cater for those room sizes. We have then also additionally a 12 times camera in the that we can add to the device for that's a PTZ camera for actual contribution of zoom in with the digital cameras. The digital cameras on the meeting board have increased very much compared with the last model. So we are using more or less the cameras there that we're going to use with the upcoming A50. I just had a customer having a demo before the training here and was very impressed with the quality and the pickup of the cameras. Now we will then soon be seeing the MVCS 50, which includes the A50, so the meeting bar, the A50 meeting bar, which is working here then as a USB camera, and that caters for medium to large rooms. And then further up there, we will see the MVC 860, which has actually the UVC 86, UVC 86 camera, and then we will see the MVC S80 coming out new, which caters the new upcoming S80 camera. Further down the track, we then have the MVC S90, which is for large and extra large solutions where we also use multi-camera in combination. We can have on those Windows solutions up to 9 cameras. We can convert a normal MVC 860 into an MVC S90 without issues, just adding an AV hub and multiple cameras to it and configure the system, and we're done. And then further down the track, we will see the MVC S98. That is also yet to be released. That is then for the Pro AV rooms. That should be released in a couple of months. As accessories, we have tabletop microphones, the Wi-Fi microphone, the VCM36, the VCM35, the cabled microphone, the ceiling microphones and speakers, content share and BYOD solutions, meeting control, and then the Pro audio gear, where we have the CM50, the AP08, the CM20, and the CS10D, all literally Dante-enabled devices. Now, what we see in those meeting rooms over the last couple of years is also a dramatic increase in AI. So when we had the first Yealink MTR solution coming out, the generation 1, which had the UVC 80 camera working, we had probably like auto framing and speaker tracking there. Meanwhile, we have auto framing as the absolute normal, speaker tracking, we have presenter tracking, and we have also IntelliFocus on those systems, where we can have up to the last 4 active contributors in the meeting displayed towards the remote participants, and then actually a room overview at the bottom. On top of that, we also have very, very much improvement in terms of audio quality, noise cancellation, echo cancellation. When I do a demo in our boardroom in Melbourne and I use a Yealink cup, and I bang a couple of pencils against that to show the noise cancellation that is built in be it the CM50 or the CM20, or even in the VCM36. People are always fascinated about the quality, that even with that loud noise that I make, they still can hear my voice. So there's a lot has been going on in that kind of development. Now, basic setup, cabling, and configuration. Very important for the installer and the reseller is to get familiar with the gear. That is more or less the most important piece that is on your plate. This will help you to deploy the systems faster. This will help you to instruct the customer better and faster, and it also will help you then with the biggest topic we come to, troubleshooting. We see that then further down the track. Of course, it will also help you to sell the gear better because you know what is possible and what will fit where. Of course, there are we around, there's Yealink around who can help answer questions, but in a general way, it's like with everything, you need to know what you're actually putting into place. There's a on the Yealink support page, there is a huge information source on how to deploy those systems, what they can, the user guide, the C-Suite quick start guide, user guide, administrator guide. There are also videos there on how to deploy those systems. Now, what is also very important, and that is something where we cannot really help you too much because we focus on the hardware and not on the backend configuration of Teams rooms. You or whoever does the backend configuration must know how to plan a room, how to deploy a room, and how to manage a room. There's a huge list of information on the back end of the Microsoft Learn pages where you learn how the rooms are actually planned, what you have to look in regards of network configuration, what you can have in a network in terms of authentication. Yeah, can you use multi-factor authentication or not? That is a clear no from Microsoft. Preparing your network, it lines out which IPs, which FQDNs, which ports, the devices or the app. I have to actually say the app. It's not the devices. It's the Teams Rooms app, and that is reaching out to the Microsoft backend. In general, it needs to reach out to SharePoint, Exchange, and Teams. So it needs full access to them. Yeah, unrestricted. And from the experience, I can tell you, the flatter the network, the better it works. Yeah. So as soon as a network becomes highly restricted, if we have proxies, deep SSL inspections, and all that stuff in place, I can tell you it will not work. And it's very important to understand we are using not IT related network requirements, it is unified communications. It is different how packets traverse through different networks, through firewalls. Yeah. So it is UC, it is unified communication. It is not IT. And if you have a discussion with a networking specialist that says, no, I've done everything, it should work and all that stuff. If it can't connect or if it's only halfway working with the Teams backend, either the configuration in the backend or it is the network configuration. Yeah. Again, the flatter the network, the better everything works. Yeah. If possible, no restriction. But there are a lot of articles in the Microsoft backend where you can see what the requirements are for these devices. Connection, I have stolen a video here from Yealink. in regards of how to do the basic cabling and the configuration. Let me quickly check if I actually did enable the audio share. Let me quickly turn off again the sharing and re-enable the share, this time with system audio so that you can actually see it and hear it. Share, okay.
Okay, now I will introduce our third course, connection. Before I introduce the connection, I would like to briefly introduce the VCH ports of our devices. Almost all Yealink hosts, such as UVC camera, AV hub, or Android bar, come with
Funny, it just
a VCH port with PoE-enabled functionality. It uses the RJ45 standard interface and is mainly used for connecting Yealink conference room devices, such as PoE-enabled microphones and speakers, as well as cameras. However, there are some limitations to the VCH port connection. For example, M-Touch cannot be powered by PoE switch. It can only be used with direct connection to M-Core. And note that the maximum distance they can support is 40 meters. In addition, the PoE switch connected to the VCH port should not be connected to an external network, such as the company network, which may cause some connectivity problems. And here I will first introduce the connection of our Windows-based solution. As we know, Yealink Windows-based solution has MVC system and ZVC system, which are based on Teams and Zoom respectively. And the Windows solution consists of three main components. The first is our M-Core mini PC and M-Touch touch panel. And the second is our main audio and video control devices, such as UVC camera and AV hub, or all-in-one USB bar, such as Smart Vision 40. And the third is other accessories, such as microphone and speakers. Let's take a look at a diagram
no. Why did that stop now? Again.
together.
Sorry.
So in the first component, the M-Core is connected to the display via HDMI cable, and the M-Touch is directly connected to M-Core using a standard Ethernet cable. If you have M-Touch Plus, it can be expanded by connecting up to 4 M-Touch Plus Extend devices through the Extend Touch port and a PoE switch. This is the first set of components. For the second set of components, such as the UVC86, which serves as a camera and an audio controller in this system, it can be connected directly to the M-Core by a USB cable. It is then connected to the PoE switch from VCH port to control the accessories of the third set, such as the microphone and the speakers. Of course, this diagram only shows the connection of a single camera solution. For multi-camera solution, we need the AV hub to serve as the central audio and video controller. The AV hub is also connected to the M-Core by a USB cable. The UVC cameras as well as the microphones and speakers can all be connected to the AV hub by PoE. The audio and video signals are then processed by the AV hub, then to the M-Core. Now I will introduce some tips when you connect this system. The first is the connection with M-Touch and M-Core. As I mentioned earlier, the M-Touch must be directly connected to the M-Core, and we need to pay attention to the cable length. Yealink currently offers a C4 and C5 two types of M-Core kit. The difference between two kits is the M-Touch and the sensor. The C4 kit is MTouch E2, which has a built-in sensor, while C5 kit is MTouch Plus. It didn't have built-in sensor, so there is an additional room sensor. The room sensor in the package is already paired to the MTouch Plus by default, so there is no need for manual pairing. And we supported to extend the touch panel controller when using MTouch Plus in this system. When connecting MTouch Plus extend tablets with MTouch Plus, it can support connect up to 4 MTouch Plus extend. And we must pay attention to the switch requirements of the connection listed on this slide. And please note that we connect MTouch Plus extend with MTouch Plus. Both devices should be connected to the same LAN and also should be in the same LAN with M-Core, or it may cause pairing issues. And the second is the connection between TV and our M-Core. Normally, our system supports the CEC feature, which means we can wake up the TV by wake up the touch screen. If you have problem of the display cannot sleep or wake up, it is usually a compatibility issue. You need to check if the display is already supports CEC and refer to this link for solving the compatibility issue. Also, you could feedback to Yealink support for more help. And if you want to connect a touchscreen to this system, like used for whiteboard feature, you need to configure this screen correctly in M-Core. Make sure this touch screen has been correctly recognized and can use the touch function. Here is a configure method. The third I need to mention is the content sharing between MTouch and the laptop. For wired content sharing, we usually use a USB-C or HDMI cable from MTouch Plus to your laptop. If this cable is lost, the replaced cable should meet the requirement of at least the USB 3.1 Gen 2 standard and support the DP protocol. And the next is the connection of UVC camera and AV hub. To connect UVC cameras or AV hub to M-Core, the original cable is a USB-A to USB-B cable. If the room is unique and the default cable length can't meet the requirement, we suggest to use Yealink USB 2 Cat5e Extend accessory for extension. And when connect Yealink devices, especially through PoE switch or AV hub, we need to pay attention to the power consumption to avoid overloading in the PoE switch and cause unstable power supply issues. And here is the list of devices' power consumption. If you could have a check from the slide or from our support website. And in our multi-camera solution of AV Hub, it can support up to 9 cameras. Due to the limited output power, we recommend not using more than 4 UVC84 or 2 UVC86 directly to AV Hub. And the CM20 and CS10 audio network requires a switch without triple E capability.
I think that's done. That's it. Going to the next slide in this case.
So RCH40 doesn't meet the requirement. We will need RCH40E2 or any other device which can disable triple E feature. Divisible room is an important feature of AV Hub. When configure divisible room, we need to connect each AV Hub to the same switch by connect to the codec port. And please note that when merging meeting rooms, the maximum number of supported accessories is determined by the capacity of AV Hub. And also, the microphone can't mix like every single system. Also, In some cases, customers need to connect third-party audio, and AV Hub can act as a bridge to connect it with Yealink system. If the customer needs to use analog mixing console, they can connect to the AV Hub's RCA and line-in line-out ports. If you need to connect third-party DSP, it can be connected to the UVC camera or to the AV Hub, or even to the M-Core by using a USB cable. However, please note that if this DSP is connected to the M-Core, your audio can't be used by BYOD devices, because our BYOD extender only transfers audio connected to the UVC camera or AV Hub. The supported third-party DSPs and their deployment methods can be found in our support website for your reference.
Okay, I guess that was it now. Sorry for that mess up before. Okay, going
now
further to the next one. So what we just saw before, more or less with all the different connections and cables, I quickly show here more or less in a nutshell. Important is to know that when we use a Windows-based solution, which is much more flexible than an Android solution, we have certain limitations or certain restrictions to follow when it comes, for example, to the audio gear. The audio gear is at the moment, that will change in the future, but that is not here. At the moment, is using a private network. So it's literally an isolated LAN that sits behind, when we use a single camera solution, behind the network port on the camera. The camera there then does all the audio video processing. Or when we use a multi-camera solution, we have the AV Hub, and all the audio gear sits then behind the AV Hub, and the AV Hub does the audio video processing. Now, in that regard is to say, cabled audio, we can always, on every system, only use one model of a device. Yeah. So if I decide to go with the Yealink microphone, CM20, I can't use the VCM 35, for example, VCM 35, which is the cabled tabletop microphone, not working. If I decide to go with the M speaker, that's the wall speaker, for example, I can't go then with the CS10, the CS10. That's not working because I can only use one model. If I want to use a divisible room, what we saw then towards the end of that video, I have to have the same speaker and the same microphone deployed in all the rooms I want to merge. And the overall capacity of those rooms can't exceed the capacity of a single system, because we have one AV hub, for example. We need an AV. We need multiple AV hubs in such a divisible room. But there is a master AV hub, and the other ones turn into switches when they are slaves. And the master AV hub then has to be able to cater the maximum amount of devices in that merged room. Yeah. We have then also wireless microphones, we have DECT microphones, and we have Wi-Fi microphones. They can be connected either way, be it via the camera or via the AV hub, depending on the setup. Now, then the camera and the AV hub, they go to the USB port, to one of the USB ports of the M-Core. The M-Core Pro, which we see here at the back lane, has a 19-volt DC power supply unit. It has 3 times HDMI, 2 times only for Teams. Teams rooms only supports 2 screens. Zoom supports 3. Yeah, so that is Microsoft restriction versus Zoom restriction. We have multiple USB ports. Generally, we only need one. We have the Internet port of the M-Core, and the M-Core is the only device in a Windows-based solution that connects to the corporate network. No other device, be it microphones, speakers, cameras, or whatever, they connect to the corporate network, even if they have an RJ45 port. They connect solely internally. They are using an isolated network, a private network. They can all be PoE powered. We look at that afterwards. Very important, the M-Touch. The M-Touch is not using a Ethernet connection in that regard. So that was correct before from Yealink, that you can't use a switch on a M-Touch connection. It is actually nothing else than USB-C over RJ45. Yealink did research on that with system integrators so that we can actually cover distances over the structured cabling in a business of up to 40 meters. For example, when we have, where's my thing now here? When we have, for example, the boardroom here, and we have somewhere a comms rack, and we put all our gear inside here, including the M-Core, and we have a cable that goes under the table. Let's say that's literally 20 meters long, and we can then plug in the M-Touch into here, and it goes then to the back of the M-Core. Yeah, that is the idea. If we have it in the same room so that the M-Core is behind the TV and the M-Touch on the table, then we have to find a way. We have to have a RJ45 lead from the center of the room, from the table to the front of the room where the M-Core is located, or however. Yeah, that's also prone to change, not with the M-Touch, but there are changes coming. I can tell you that already. However, the M-Touch is 40 meters and not more. And again, that also comes down then to the quality of the structured cabling. Yeah. Cable quality, if there are any tight bends inside, shielded installation cable where the shield is pressed into the wires or whatever. Yeah, termination is not properly done. We have signal loss. It all comes down to literally also the active installation. Yeah, you can make a dry patch loop in the comms rack. So, for example, if we have the patch panel, say we have two patch panels here, and here we have all the RJ45 ports, and we come out of one with the cable from the M-Core, and we go literally into another one and go further to the M-Touch. Again, the maximum cable distance is 40 meters, nothing else. That's how it is, and that's how we keep it for the moment. Camera placement. Camera placement, very, very crucial for engaging or remote people, remote party engagement. I did once sit down and do some kind of an explanation in a guide that we have. When I see camera placed on top of the TV, the remote participants, they are spectators. They look on how these people conduct the meeting. By that, looking down on the remote meeting room, they feel disengaged because they think, okay, I look now, I watch now how they do the meeting. I don't feel included. It's a natural feeling. When we place the camera on eye height, and I look straight at the remote participants, I feel engaged with them. I think they are on eye level. Yeah, they talk together in the same line. Yeah, people become engaged and they will contribute to the active conversation, even if they are remote. Doesn't matter if they sit in a meeting room or in front of a screen. Yeah, the optimal height is mid lens 1.1 to 1.4 meter. If necessary, move the TV higher before mounting the camera on top of the TV. Only do that in the absolute worst case if there is no other opportunity. Okay? Cable length. Cable length, again here, HDMI, refer to the HDMI standards from the MCOR datasheet. The standard defines the length and the quality of the cable that needs to be used. USB 3, the same. Refer to the standards from the MCOR datasheet. You saw before, for example, for the screen sharing via the M-Touch, we require USB 3.1 with DP possibility. DP is DisplayPort, and of course, when you want to do, for example, also BYOD using USB-C on an A40 or whatever, the notebook has to support it. It doesn't make any sense if the notebook, for example, doesn't support DP and you want to achieve something. Cabled audio, Cat5e, Cat6 IEEE standard. M-Touch, direct Cat5e, Cat6 maximum 4 meter. Again, here, depending on cable and terminator quality, signal loss can happen, which reduces the cable length that we can actually use. Power consumption, see the appendix for power consumption, power budget, and requirements. I did there add additional slides in there regarding how to calculate these kind of things up. It's a very important part, especially also with the energy efficient Ethernet. We always see people using not the right switches when they deploy a system. They just take a normal PoE switch, which has sometimes even calculates the capacitive resistance on the cable based on and then based on that capacitive resistance from the switch to the device in use, so like the UVC86 camera or whatever, it then actually calculates the wattage that needs to be put out. Yeah, that's absolutely not what we want. Yeah, it's PoE plus the switch, unlimited power supply more or less, and as much power budget as possible. Accessories, options, and restrictions. I made that compatibility chart, and I hope it's all correct in that regard for you to literally have a look what fits together. There are restrictions. For example, on an MVC860 S90 system, I can't use WPP30 with BYOD in the same moment when I use the VCM36. That's just not working. Yeah, this is why, for example, up here, oops, sorry, my mistake. This one here, the pen. This is, for example, up here. We only have the MVCS 40 involved. Yeah, same goes down here. Yeah, else it would have the MVC 860 and the S90 as well. It's just we have one Wi-Fi, one access point, and in the 860 and the S90, and we can't use more. The S40 gives us more options. Troubleshooting basics. I said that already at the beginning, more or less, when I was lining out the Microsoft Teams backend configuration or the knowledge base that needs to be go through. We work with through 3 different operators, more or less. We work with the hardware manufacturer, which is Yealink. We work with the network manufacturer or the team who configures the network, and we work with the UC provider, Teams Zoom. Yeah, and it is very important when you have an issue on a customer side, you determine what is actually not working. Is the camera not working? Is the microphone not working? Is the touch device unresponsive? The touch device not paired? The device not booting? Yeah. Again, not paired in this case here means, for example, someone saw, oh, RJ45. I don't remember where that was plugged in. You have people who work in the network cabinet to do other stuff, not only when you do network Teams rooms. So you have maybe people who do surveillance cameras and all that stuff. They unplug something and they don't know anymore where it goes to. It comes out of a patch panel, RJ45. Oh, that goes into that switch in there. Touch device not paired anymore because actually someone placed it into a switch port instead of actually looping it back into the the correct port from the patch panel. Yeah. Hardware issues are only related to the hardware themselves. Reboot, factory reset, firmware check with a different unit. Cross test, very important. We come more into that over the next couple of slides. Network, it is the general rule, I said it again, the flatter the network, the better. No proxies, no deep packet inspection, no restriction to required MS domains, IPs, ports. NTP server can be reached. NTP plays a crucial role in Teams environments, not only Teams rooms, but also Teams phones, and has nothing to do with Yealink. It's Microsoft. Yeah. So NTP server, if they are, for example, the timestamp not corrected, the system will not work, will not register, or what else ever. It is the IT network support from the customer who must investigate on these issues. UC provider, again, it's UC, it's not IT. A lot of the issues we see are coming from the UC provider end. If these issues arrive, they must be raised with the UC provider. Once the hardware can reach the internet and the back end of the UC provider, which means like the Teams registration backend or so, it can't be raised with the hardware vendor. A waste of time for everyone, especially for the end user who needs that gear to be working. Very important. Typical Teams rooms issues, stuff that we see on a daily level. When I get, for example, and I try to make a login, or when I deploy a new system, and I get, for example, an issue here that says below here, I didn't make a photo, unfortunately, licensing, incorrect licensing, or what else ever. It can't be a hardware issue because it's a Teams license. It's a Microsoft license. Needs to be handled, gone, handed over to Microsoft support. Couldn't sign in into Microsoft Teams. It says Microsoft Teams. It doesn't say Yealink, YMCS or what else ever. Microsoft. Other issues like when you also use, usually this happens on the meeting boards, that kind of stuff, but it also happens on the when you use whiteboard in a Teams MVC-based system. Microsoft, this all these, as soon as you see that funny icon here, this one here, you're on the Microsoft, on the Teams backend. Your device reaches the Teams backend configuration issue. Yeah, so we see that very, very often. It's a regular issue that we see. Now, once you have an issue, so how do we go ahead with troubleshooting? We have a pyramid in terms of hierarchy, who sits where. We have at the very bottom the end user. He is the one who uses the gear. Then we have the reseller, installer, with distributor, and then we have the vendor. Based on their position in the channel, everyone has a different task. And it is the every part here has the task more or less given that they have to provide. The end user is ensuring the appropriate use of the gear, so he's not abusing the gear. The reseller does basic troubleshooting, remote or on-site, correct collection of the required data, trying to fix the issue based on what is available in terms of help. Cross-test with working hardware, that's very crucial, because if we confirm or if we define hardware as faulty without cross-testing it, how can we define that the hardware is actually faulty and not just, for example, a cable or the TV or something like that? Yeah, it's very crucial to cross-test with different hardware, ensuring to be across the hardware sold and installed. Training of the end user. The distributor makes enhanced troubleshooting, working closely with the vendor, so that we get the issues that we receive as a distributor raised as fast as possible. Working with the reseller in terms of getting those issues resolved, but also getting the correct data from the reseller to be able to hand it faster to the vendor, and by that get the issue faster resolved. Solving the issue if possible, if it's a known issue, handing over the required data to the vendor, and then also provide reseller installer training. That's actually what we are doing now at the moment. The vendor, aside from research and development and building the gear and all that stuff, they do in-depth troubleshooting. So it's literally third level or even more analyzing of log files, bug fixing, and it's the vendor who confirms an RMA. And if the vendor has not confirmed an RMA, the RMA can't be given. And to confirm the RMA, we need correct data. And the better the data, the faster the RMA is confirmed. Vendor does distributor training. Now, imagine you have a hardware issue. What is the issue, or what are you doing? Yeah, you reboot the system or the device. Yeah, you check, unplug the device, plug it back in, check if there is an issue, if it solves the issue or what else ever. Cross-check. Take a working device and see if the issue persists. To be honest, I was in your position once in my life, not here, over in Europe. I used to have my own business. I used to be going out to the customer and troubleshoot. And when I had to troubleshoot a non-working device, I had to have my own backup gear. Either to say, okay, I give you that temporarily until the other stuff is fixed. I take that into the office or what else ever, or to see if it's actually really a hardware issue. In Europe, you can't go to a distributor and say, oh, I need replacement gear or what else ever. That's not going. That's not working. So you need to have a certain backup plan in ways of checking what gear is faulty. Cables, check if cables are faulty. HDMI cables, USB cables, that kind of stuff. Firmware update, check on the Yealink website. Use the release note page. The link is also then in the appendix. That's the best because there are also release notes. And it's not only in phone systems or wherever where release notes have very important information inside. It's also in this case here. Factory default, the hardware. Check if a factory default, even if the camera do a hard reset via the pinhole. If a factory reset of the camera, AV hub or whatever solves the issue. Reimage the M-Core. I wrote the guide step by step with the download links of the ISOs and everything how to reimage the M-Core. I had 2 M-Cores over the last 2 weeks in my office because the installer wasn't able to do it or didn't want to do it. Issues, whatever, reimage the devices, no issues anymore. Okay? If no step of the former page helped to solve the issue, please don't please follow the steps below. Sorry. Take a video of the issue. Yealink will come back and say, record a video of the issue. So do it upfront, showing the issue and how to replicate, if possible. Yeah, it's always, of course, if possible. But Yealink will come back and say, please send us a video. It's not only because they want to see it, it's also sometimes we speak English. They are not native English speaker. I'm also not a native English speaker. So it's easier to understand the actual issue and helps faster to resolve the issue if a video is involved. Send the email to our support department containing a description of the issue in dot points. Do not write novels. Nobody will follow that. Dot points. This happens when you do this. How the issue can be replicated. Troubleshooting steps performed. Line out what you have done so that we and Yealink know much better where to step in. Explain the result of a cross-test. Attach log files of the replicated issue. Attach video of the issue. Line out a timestamp of when the issue has been replicated. Day, month, minute. Forgot to add that in here. Have to add that. Hour, minute. It will be then in the thing that you receive. It will be included. No vendor, no one will go and check through thousands of lines in a log file to find an issue if there is no timestamp provided. The response will be replicate it again, provide the logs, note down the timestamp. That's how it is. Don'ts. Test hardware with a different medium. For example, if the M speaker has no audio, the M speaker connects using the RJ45 port. Why would you test it using the line out port? Doesn't make sense. If it's meant the RJ45 port is faulty, then you have to replicate the issue somewhere on another system or with an M speaker using the RJ45 port. It doesn't make any sense if you connect the speaker to a notebook or whatever and say, the speaker is working, therefore the camera is faulty or whatever. Yeah. So test the actual condition of the device. Yeah. UVC 86 or 84 or whatever camera connects to a PoE switch, but it's not working. You plug in the 48-volt power supply unit, the camera starts working. At that, you decide the camera RJ45 port is faulty. Check a different port on the switch. Check with another camera. Maybe the cable is faulty. Whatever. So you can't just say, okay, I plug the camera in. With the power supply unit, it works, but with the RJ45 port, it doesn't work. So therefore, the RJ45 port is faulty. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you have to literally really check if all included parts in the chain are not also faulty. Yeah. M-Core screen turns black intermittently. If the TV turns intermittently black, don't just say HDMI port is faulty. Yeah. So if you tap on the HDMI cable at the back of the M-Core and then the TV moves around, it can be that there is a little discrepancy of the plug of the pins between the HDMI cable and the M-Core. Plug in a HDMI cable in the back, another HDMI cable in the back of the TV and into the M-Core and try it again. If it's working, it's not the M-Core. Replace the cable. It's cheaper than going down the path of having an M-Core replaced. Yeah. And also don't let the end user do the testing. He's not a specialist. Data provided by the end user most likely is incorrect. Yeah. Don't raise cases with tickets or raise cases with the text, the Yealink system you sold us doesn't work properly or similar. This will delay the whole troubleshooting process. Back and forth email will happen. Do's, test hardware issues yourself. Do not hand over to the end user, not his task. Data provided will be incorrect. Check if cabling is correct, require troubleshooting steps and all that stuff. We went through that. Hand out the serial and MAC address, firmware version. What is the actual setup? How is the hardware used? How is it connected? How to replicate the issue? Exact steps, and so on. Now, a couple of other things that you need to know when you, for example, set up the system. By default, the devices, the Yealink devices, they automatically become the main sound devices like the speakerphone or the microphone. However, there can be the situation that another device is becoming the main device. For example, if you use a switch that has energy efficient Ethernet and turns off more or less the connection to the devices and they power off and get disconnected from the system, then it will take on built-in or whatever kind of speakers, disable them if necessary, so that the only active device on the Yealink setup is the Yealink gear. You can also check in the MTR app, the backend, the MTR app. As soon as we are there in the MTR app, if we enter the famous SFB password, we are in the MTR app. That's Windows land. Yeah. Go into peripherals, check what is the actual gear that we are using there. Is it the camera or is it something else that is? If we use a single camera solution, it is the camera who is the speaker and the microphone, nothing else, because that is doing the audio video processing. If we are using a multi-camera solution, it comes down to the setup. You will see here, I have the AV hub, but I also have the high-end Pro Audio installed. I have the DSP here and the AV hub. So I choose the DSP there. Yeah, I don't use monitors or what else ever. Yeah, I make sure that I have the right gear in place there. Sometimes taking a moment until the interface loads on an M-Core when you jump in remotely. You can't you see you saw that purple screen. That's the MTR app actually, and so you can't open it on certain systems. You can't open it. Actually, my demo is here. Moment. Sorry that paused, but I had to quickly just answer a Teams chat because my demo customer is here. Yeah. Yeah. So you turn off there the whatever devices that you want to turn off and just use the right devices that you want to use. But that's just in case it is necessary. Yeah. I could turn off the AV hub now here, and then I only would have the DSP. Again, you don't have to do that. It's just if you have issues with wrong devices all of a sudden become active as live devices. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next video, updating the MTR app. MTR apps usually are updated automatically. The update is pushed by Microsoft, but if necessary, this can be done manually. To do that, I also have a guide on how to proceed with that. There's a link. You download the latest version of the MTR app, and then you have to use a little bit of PowerShell. Of course, on that system or all systems, I am already on the latest version. So you will not see the full, but yeah, you will have to use a PowerShell command to literally execute that script. or to execute that. Yeah, it is a script actually. You run a PowerShell as an administrator. I did actually speed that up, but apparently it's not. Takes a while. It takes a while until that actually takes much longer than actually, as you can see it here in the video. Speeding up a little bit here. And I did already speed it up. Okay, so then comes requests. If you want to run or not, you enter R for run once, and then literally the script gets executed. However, there's very important info to know. You can't go into the backend with the normal way, because that will log out the Skype user, and the Skype user must be logged in. So there's only one way how you can achieve that, and that is inside the guide. And here you see already the latest is the 5.3.111, and it is already on the 5.3.111. So that's literally the updating the MTR app manually. Then the next one is, how's it not going here? MVC log collection. How to collect logs. You go to the backend. And at the top right, you see cogwheel, and you see there the log management. Now, before you export the logs there, you have to make sure that the folder you use is either a new one, so you create a new folder, or you go to check in the folder where you usually save it that there is no file inside, so that you don't have the wrong information handed down. Then you select all and you export the log file. The log files are exported after you recreated the issue. Yeah, so you don't have them running while you create the issue. You recreate the issue and then afterwards you export the log files. Very important, if you reboot the system after you recreated the issue and before collecting the log files, the logs will be cleared. So you're not allowed to reboot the system after replicating the issue. So if you have audio issues in Teams as well, you can go into the camera or the AV hub and then on the general settings, enable Teams audio capture and BYOD audio capture if you have issues when you do BYOD, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And this then will capture additional. That has nothing to do with during the normal meeting or what else ever need to be enabled. That is just for log collection. Now, management security and MDEP certification is from the Android section. I left that inside there. Management cloud service, the YMCS, offers you device remote control with a pro license, device management, remote diagnostic, real-time alarm, remote task, and remote Teams deployment. Most of them is in the basic license, but there is also stuff that is in the Pro license only. Teams Rooms Pro Portal. Teams Rooms Pro Portal is more or less the same as for the meeting for the YMCS on the Windows side, yeah. So you get information on incidents, you get troubleshooting steps, guides, advices how to go ahead with that. Yealink is quite secure. They cater for multiple company level security certificates. They have product level security like Teams certified, Zoom certified, and they trust on well-known supply chain manufacturers. The Yealink certification, get trained, get to know the hardware, get to know the gear. This is us. Every state has a specialist. We offer demos, scoping, proof of concept, pre-staging, deployment support, training, tech support, RA support. You can book a demo in one of our local demo centers, and we will help you to get the stuff onboarded. Then we have like 15 pages of appendix, and that's for you then to read through and what you actually can do, should do, need to do. Now, as my demo customer is here, I more or less have to jump out. Let me see if there are any questions around. Okay, I have to leave. I have to jump out. Feel free to connect with me if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I will send the slides through and upload the meeting to YouTube. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.